All right, please remain standing um, as we sing the national anthem of Jamaica.
Eternal Father, bless our land. Guard us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers. Be our light to countless stars. To our leaders, great defender, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, lands we love. Jamaica, 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 lands we love. Teach us through respect for all. Stir response to duty's call. Strengthen us, the weak to cherish. Give us vision, lest we perish. Knowledge send us, Heavenly Father, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, lands we love. Jamaica, 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 lands we love.
Please remain standing as I ask Mr. Javon Alstead to deliver prayer.
Amen. Can we all please bow our heads? Dear Heavenly Father, we pause in gratitude as we gather this evening at the Consulate General of Jamaica, New York. Lord, we thank you for journeying mercies, for bringing us together in unity, and for blessing us with the presence of our Prime Minister, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Almighty God, we pray your continued guidance upon him. Grant him wisdom to lead with integrity, courage to serve with vision, and strength to make decisions that uplift the people of Jamaica, both home and abroad. May your hand of protection rest upon him, his family, and his team as they carry the weight of national responsibility. We also lift up our beloved country, Jamaica. Bless our land with peace, prosperity, and progress. Strengthen the bond between Jamaica and her sons and daughters in the diaspora, that together we may continue to build, uplift, and inspire. Tonight, Lord, we ask that this gathering be filled with fellowship, goodwill, and purpose. May every conversation and every connection made here bring honor to you and benefit to our nation. We commit this evening into your hands, and we pray your blessings over all present. In your holy name we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
You may be seated. All right, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Jamaica's house. The Consulate General of Jamaica welcomes each and every one of you here this evening as we host our Prime Minister. But before I begin, I would just like to read a short message from our Consul General. Now, since we have been in this location, this is the first event we are hosting that our Consul General is not present. And she has asked me to read this message on her behalf. Good evening. It is with deep regret that I am unable to be with you this evening for this very special reception in honor of the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness. Despite my valiant efforts and heartfelt desire to be present, my ongoing health challenges have made it necessary for me to continue focusing on recovery. This decision, though difficult, was guided by the same spirit of discipline and faith that I bring to my service to Jamaica and our diaspora community. Please know that my thoughts and prayers are with you all this evening. I extend my sincere appreciation to everyone who has gathered here in support of this important occasion and for the love, prayers, and positive thoughts that so many of you have shared with me during this time. Your kindness and encouragement have been a source of great strength. I wish for the evening's proceedings to be filled with meaningful dialogue, renewed partnership, and a shared commitment to the continued advancement of our beloved Jamaica. May God bless you all, and may He continue to bless Jamaica, land we love. Consul General. All right, so as we proceed into this evening, and I don't want the program to be long, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I'd just like to recognize a few persons who are here this evening and, for them to be duly acknowledged. Of course, at the top of the list, the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. His Excellency Major General Retired Anthony Anderson, Ambassador of Jamaica to the United States and Permanent Representative to the OAS. His Excellency Brian Wallace, Permanent Representative of Jamaica to the United Nations. I don't see Ambassador Rattray, so I'll be here. Mr. Jeremiah Hyacinth, Consul General of St. Lucia and Chair of the CARICOM Consular Corps. Mr. Lorenzo Harewood and Mrs. Harewood, Consul General of Barbados to New York. Ms. Michelle Tolonil, Chair of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council Northeast. And Mr. Sean Anthony Brown, GJDC Commerce Representative. We also have Ms. Asha Richards, the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council representative for the Northeast, the youth representative, sorry. I know I saw Asha earlier. Okay, she's right there. We also have Dr. Anthony Monroe, President of the Borough of Manhattan Community College. Mr. Christopher Chaplin, our Honorary Consul in Philadelphia. Mr. Donovan Wilson, President of the Union of Jamaica Alumni Association, and Mrs. Elsie Foster, the Mayor of Highland Park in New Jersey. Thank you all for joining us this evening. So we now move along with the program, and I will now invite to the lectern His Excellency Ambassador Anderson, who will bring greetings.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for acknowledging everyone who's here. So we won't have to go through everyone, but certainly Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and colleague and Excellency Brian Wallace, Ambassador and Jamaica's Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, all Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica, good afternoon or good evening. It's truly a privilege to welcome you all this evening, especially since we have with us our Prime Minister, who has managed to fit this reception into his schedule. The Prime Minister is a man of purpose and a man of vision, and he has certainly hit the ground running in this third term and is moving forward with energy and focus. And you can see that in his body language and everything he does. Prime Minister, congratulations on your recent win at the polls, and thank you for your leadership as we move towards prosperity for our people. We are deeply honored that you have chosen to be here with us in New York, and your presence this evening sends a powerful message that Jamaica's government values its people, not only at home, but also across the diaspora. We are also joined by Senator, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, whose service as Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade continues to ensure that Jamaica has a respected voice on the world stage. We congratulate you and thank you for the skill and leadership that you bring to your portfolio. New York holds a special place in Jamaica's story. It is home to our largest diaspora community in the United States, and this community has always been steadfast, raising Jamaica's profile, sharing our culture, and making our mark in every field of endeavor. Thank you all for joining us here, and thank you for making Jamaica proud. And I notice there are a whole bunch of police officers at the back. Thank you for being here. The Prime Minister has been unwavering in his pursuit of Jamaica's economic independence, and the results speak for themselves with another upgrade from an international rating agency. Now, as your ambassador to the United States, I see my role as a bridge between Jamaica and its diaspora. Prime Minister, your presence here tonight strengthens that bridge. It brings home to our people here in New York that they are not just observers of Jamaica's progress, but vital partners in it. So my advice to you all is get involved, invest in Jamaica, get ahead of the curve before the rest of the world grabs all of the opportunities, and there are many. But before I close, allow me to thank Consul General Alcione Roach Wilson and her team for their tireless work. And to thank you, members of our diaspora, for the unwavering love and support you give to Jamaica. But above all tonight, we celebrate the presence of our Prime Minister, look forward to his words, his vision, and his continued leadership as we build a stronger, more prosperous Jamaica together. Thank you, and please enjoy the evening.
All right. Thank you, Ambassador Anderson. And I now invite Ambassador Wallace, and he will bring greetings.
Remember to adjust the mic for me. Right? Prime Minister, Minister Johnson-Smith, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, all, Ambassador, it's been an exhausting week for Prime Minister. This is just, we have been through a tumultuous period of time and a very hectic agenda of work over this past week. But it is always important for Jamaica's voice to be heard loud and clear on the global stage. And I was very pleased when Prime Minister decided just a few weeks after an election to come for a few days, to come for high-level week this year. Because multilateralism is in a state of change. These are challenging times, and challenging times require leadership. And this is the role that Jamaica has always played. And this is a role that I am very proud that Jamaica will also play under the leadership of Prime Minister Holness. The respect that his voice carries on the global stage is undeniable. And that gives us here at the mission in New York, with my team all around, and I know it does here for our folks at the consulate, it gives us wind, it gives us energy. It fills us with pride every time we step forth to represent you, our homeland. And it fills us with confidence that our mission is a good one. So, Prime Minister, I want to say thank you for that leadership. Minister Johnson-Smith, thank you. You know, I was remarking the other day that Minister Johnson-Smith is serving her 10th year as Foreign Minister of Jamaica. And I couldn't be prouder to be serving as the ambassador to New York here. So thank you so much. I know the Prime Minister has some words of wisdom for you, and I'm looking forward to hearing them myself. Good night.
All right. Thank you, Ambassador Wallace. All right, so we're going to hear a song, a redemption song by Joel Edwards and Friends, correct? And after that song, Mrs. Camille Morrison, the consul here, will introduce our Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Minister, we go through this every time. Right. So, Minister, Mrs. Morrison will do a short introduction. We have asked her to keep it short. And then Minister will introduce the man of the hour, the Prime Minister. And then after the Prime Minister speaks, depending on the time, we may be able to take a few questions. So you will hear from me at that time after the Prime Minister speaks. So, Joel, over to you.
All pirates, yes, they're rabbi, sold I to the merchant ship. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Oh, won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, yeah, redemption song, yeah, redemption song. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the tide. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Yes, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. But won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song, whoa, redemption song, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the tide. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it, but we got to fulfill the book. Oh, won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song, redemption song, yeah. These songs of freedom, these songs of freedom, 'cause all I ever had, redemption song. Oh, 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 oh.
Prime Minister, Minister Johnson Smith, ambassadors, consuls general, mayor, specially invited guests, colleagues, good evening. Good evening. I have the distinct pleasure to introduce our beloved and the hardest working foreign minister in the world. On behalf of Consul General Alzion Wilson, who unfortunately could not be with us, but of course sends her warmest regards. Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith is Jamaica's longest serving foreign minister and is the first woman to hold the post. May we all take this opportunity to congratulate her on her reappointment. She has done an excellent job and remains the quintessential representation of Jamaican diplomacy. Minister Johnson Smith has been a champion and staunch advocate for Jamaica's national development goals across bilateral, regional, hemispheric, and international platforms. Under her effective leadership, Jamaica's presence has been elevated and her voice well respected on the global stage. In addition to the decorated achievements attained at the bilateral and multilateral levels, Minister Johnson Smith has also made myriad meaningful contributions to the local landscape in her capacity as leader of government business in the Senate. She's a principled woman of great strength, integrity, and one who believes in the power of collaboration at all levels to address shared interests and challenges. She stands ready to take the charge and lead the change, for as she's known to say, nothing changes if nothing changes. Please give a warm welcome and round of applause to Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Morrison, for that beautiful introduction. Thank you. Honestly, very, very well written, very well delivered. Kudos. Very well delivered. And just to share before I even greet you, that along with the change quote, my other favorite is, nothing is a problem until it's a problem. The mantra is fix it first. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, ambassadors, and if you will allow me to also recognize ambassadors traveling with me from headquarters, Ambassador Cheryl Spencer. Ambassador, please stand and let them see. Ambassador Spencer was our ambassador to the WTO and to Geneva for years, served us amazingly on the trade scene, and is now back at headquarters with us, yay. And Ambassador Professor Weber, who is ambassador from the new Ministry of Water, Energy, and Climate Change, MWEC. So Professor Weber is here with us today as well. I want to recognize members of my team from Capital who are here with me, members of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Mrs. Dubdab Dixon, I see you. Mr. Harris, I don't. There you are, wonderful. And of course, to greet Salmon. Wonderful to greet the members of the team here at PRUN and the team at the Consulate. And I have to say that I can't recognize everybody in the audience, but I have to recognize Jam Leo. I have to recognize Jam Leo. Components of the world's best selfie taken at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade is a selfie of me with 100 members of the Jam Leo team. So incredible to have representatives here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you well. It is an absolute joy to be here with you in New York, and it is clear to me that the Jamaican spirit is alive and well right here. I want to ask you to indulge me for 1 second to just recognize the incredible, incredible leadership that we have in Alcyon Wilson, Consul General of Jamaica. That at such short notice, we could still have this amazing event, and kudos to the team who worked with her in absentia to make sure that we had this evening here. And I want to ask you also to indulge me 1 more minute, because you know that she's watching, right? So can everybody just say, hi, CG? Lovely. We miss you. We wish you were here with us, but you know you're with us anyway. And we will report back on all of the details and go over them together as we always do. But I want to also thank everyone who is here, every one of you who made the time to come in on a Friday evening. We know you brave the traffic, you brave the hustle and bustle of New York to be here, and I want to say how much I appreciate it, how much Prime Minister appreciates it, although I'm sure he will say so also for himself. I am especially honored to be here accompanying him, to accompany my boss, who has been recently sworn for the 3rd historic consecutive term and 4th overall as Prime Minister of Jamaica. And I want to if we could have, we would have scheduled this for 1 p.m. But he was speaking at the UN at that time. But I want to thank all members of the diaspora who supported us and who supported him and supported the bid on September 3rd. I'm trusting that no one in this room was one of the people who carried bells on the plane. Because, you know, the behavior, which we love. But it really added a richness to the social media content to see how people represented on both sides their passion when they returned to cast their franchise. And again, it's part of the beauty of democracy. It's part of the love of country. It's part of the connection that a lot of people carry at different levels. And to see it in action is incredible. I want to also recognize that, you know, of course, this government has always been a government of inclusion. We govern for everyone. You have seen it for the past 10 years, so you know it in action. You know my words are true. That we believe in Jamaica for all Jamaicans, and that as much as it's a competitive endeavor, an election, that when you're on the other side of it and you have government, you govern for all Jamaicans. So we want you to always be assured of this belief that we have, which is true and deeply founded. And of course, having run a clean and dignified campaign based on achievements, that you would also be clear on where it is our energies are, and that is in improving the quality of life for all Jamaicans and developing our country to be her very best self. So as you know, we're here. Prime Minister Holness is leading the delegation to the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. And as you have heard, I am honored to have been reappointed by him for a 3rd term. And I really have to say, Jamaica is 100% the best country in the world to represent. It honestly is. And things as simple as the quality of the talent that we have. I mean, this is an evening, 3 guys playing music, and the quality that they produce is mind-blowing. I don't know where that disappeared to, but Joel and friends, you are incredible. I hope you're on the program again. and really, really, it is part of what we're about and part of why our brand is so strong, because the pool of talent that we have in this God-blessed country called Jamaica is just outsized for any country. We are blessed beyond. We are blessed. When people say you're blessed and highly favored, Jamaica is like Next level, highly favored. And we really, really have to treasure it. And part of what we will be doing in this administration is ensuring that we introduce the institutions, the frameworks that will help us to finally leverage and monetize, empower our people to monetize our culture and our creativity in ways that we have not yet been able to do. So again, we're here for the UN, and the reflection is making it extremely difficult to read what's on my screen. So I'm doing as best as possible. But I wanted to share with you just a few things while we get ready to listen to the Prime Minister, just so you have a sense of what we have been through. So we've been here reinforcing our belief in multilateralism. We know that the UN and multilateral system is under challenge, that there are issues within this last few years that are maybe a little more complex than the world has been through in some time. And we are here reaffirming our belief that this system that allows for one country, one vote, that allows for the smallest country to have a voice to be heard, that it is critical for countries like Jamaica to be our best self. And so we're here to reaffirm that. We're here to speak about climate change and the fact that as small island developing states, we absolutely do need to call on larger countries, larger emitters to play their part in making sure that we stay at 1.5 degrees above Celsius above pre-industrial levels, that we keep the ecosystems as healthy as possible in our oceans and on land, to make sure that small countries like ourselves have less of a challenge with sea level rise, have a greater chance of being able to leverage our blue economies, keep our fish stocks healthy, etc. And of course, to make sure that our land space, our forests, and our terrestrial areas are also as healthy as possible to support agriculture and to support our livelihoods as general. We've also been dealing with migration. We've met with the International Organization of Migration and other partners as we discuss how we deal with some of the particular challenges in that sector at this time. They are complicated in a way that they really can't be summarized in a small speech, but are certainly matters which are on the agenda of your government, so please be assured. We've addressed oceans, NDCs, that's the National Developed Contributions, and our NCDs, which are the non-communicable diseases. We've been dealing with engagement with bilateral partners. I, for example, met with the Philippines, Singapore, Monaco, Cuba, and Portugal, all bilateral partners, meetings with foreign ministers for us to engage on different matters of mutual interest. Prime Minister met with Prime Minister Carney of Canada, as well as President Ruto of Kenya, key critical partners on various undertakings and security and defense cooperation included. And that's just some of it. Also met with our community of Latin American and Caribbean countries, together with our counterparts from Japan, China, India, and among the 33 Latin American and Caribbean countries. And also we hosted here at Jamaica our COFCOR, which is the CARICOM Council of Foreign and Community Relations, where we discuss matters of general foreign relations within the Caribbean. So I wanted to have a sense of what we've been here doing over the past week, and that's it in a nutshell. But I want to say to you again, before I ask the Prime Minister if he will take the podium, to assure you again that this, us being here, is not by chance. It is to say to you that we value you, we value our diaspora, we want to engage with you even more deeply and more intentionally than we did in the previous terms. We have a foundation to build on, and we intend to so do. You are our business people, our academics, our college presidents, you are our honorary consuls, you're our medical professionals, you're our advocates, you're our architects, you're our engineers, you are our law enforcement officers, you are Social workers, amazing. Please also come home. Please also come home. I see somebody raising a hand. Social workers as well. This is amazing. Speech language pathology, please come home. We're also, and if you have, we're actually offering scholarships for those areas now because the need is so great and we're expanding. Yeah, so come. Not so far. It's not so far and the weather is better. But we love that you are so integrated, well organized, and contribute so significantly to the economies and the social development of your host country. And we love that you remain connected with contributing to that, to those areas rather at home. And we want to encourage you to continue to do so. Want to also just say that it is, in that context, my greatest pleasure to invite my boss once more, someone who holds the deepest love and the greatest vision for Jamaica, someone who has managed to unlock and unblock the greatest and most intransigent problems of Jamaica, which have remained unsolved for decades. He has unblocked them. It is no longer Jamaica the basket case, but which rating agency upgraded us this month? An S&P. But the point being that our conversation is now entirely different, and that is a beautiful thing to be able to say. And it has not been by chance. It has been by strong commitment, discipline, strategy, a clear-minded vision as to where Jamaica can be and what we can be and who we are as a people. This man is no one other than Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Prime Minister, I invite you to the podium. Please be upstanding.
Thank you very much, Minister. And everyone should know that is not why you have been reappointed as Minister. Allow me to again acknowledge our hardworking Minister of Foreign Affairs, our newly appointed Ambassador to the United States, a man with so many titles, Major General, former Commissioner of Police, former Chief of Defense Staff, a fantastic Jamaican who has contributed so much to the development of Jamaica. I just call him Tony. Ambassador Brian Wallace, our permanent representative to the UN, someone who I've known for many years, and who is making his own mark in the UN as a well-respected voice. I am going to acknowledge, in her absence, Alcian, our Consul General, and of course, the incredible staff of the Consulate who has made all of these arrangements, and for the great hospitality. Let me acknowledge members of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and Youth Council who are here. Members of clergy, civil society, academia, and private sector who are here. My Jamaican family and friends. One love. It is always a pleasure to be in New York, home of the largest and most vibrant Jamaican community in the United States, and I dare say the world outside of Jamaica. I'm grateful to Consul General Alcian Wilson for making these arrangements. But I would like to also acknowledge her in other ways. For example, it was her hard work that secured us this building. And it was her hard work again that stood up the consulate in terms of training, standards, quality of service. And I know it has not always been an easy road. I know there were challenges along the way, but I believe everyone would have by now bought into the vision that she has had for this consulate. The last time I was here, she pointed out to me the number of Jamaicans that this consulate serves. The consulate receives over 5,000 calls per day. And she also pointed out to me that there was a significant increase in the number of Jamaicans seeking to secure their passports and citizenship. I don't know why, but but we welcome all Jamaicans who want to formalize their relationship with Jamaica or who want to return home. I've always maintained Jamaica is our homeland. And even if you don't live there, you must always feel you have somewhere to come back if anything were to... It's a good thing with Jamaicans, we can speak with our hands, Always know that you are welcome to your homeland. And what we're trying to do is to build a place where you can feel at home when you come. All right? So obviously I'm here to participate in the milestone 80th anniversary of the UN and to deliver Jamaica's policy statement both at the General Assembly and other meetings that are happening in the periphery of the General Assembly. And we have also had several bilateral engagements, which all have been very fruitful. The Jamaican people have grown, in my opinion, to appreciate the importance of foreign policy engagement. They know that we are not just here profiling and that there are real benefits delivered by our engagements overseas. So foreign policy is an important and meaningful part of governance in Jamaica. Whether it is we are impacted by travel advisories, by changing laws in different jurisdictions or trade issues, whatever issues they are that affect Jamaicans, they know that their government has the ability, the capabilities to have access in important areas, can speak with world leaders, and can bring our position in such a way that we are not seen as extreme. We are not seen as dogmatic and ideological, but people who are businesslike, serious, people who are seen as reasonable, and people who will engage in dialogue and meaningful discussions. People who are seen as understanding how the world works. And that is what we need, right? We must be seen, Jamaica, as understanding how the world works, securing our seat at the table, and always being there to ensure that our principles are upheld, but equally that our interests are advanced. And that is how we have executed our foreign policy, a very pragmatic foreign policy that supports our economic development and protects our interests, which includes the interests of our diaspora. So that's how you should consider foreign policy and our engagement. It is the creation of an umbrella of protection under which we all benefit. Whether you're in the diaspora or you're living in Jamaica, you know that you have the coverage of your Ministry of Foreign Affairs and your government. You know, during the pandemic, during other crises, you people who travel appreciate the value of having your embassy, your consulate, your high commission, because they do give you coverage and protection. So this is my first overseas engagement since I was re-elected to this position of Prime Minister. And just to say a few things on that, we know that there is no honeymoon in this election, so we are going right back to work. We took no breaks. The government never took a break. Government operated seamlessly throughout the elections. Those of you who observed it, you would realize that the administration that we lead is one that operates seamlessly, whether it is a pandemic, whether it is a hurricane, or whatever major issues that may occur. We believe that there must be no break or disruption in government. And I think we have demonstrated stable government right throughout. And even in the election, government continues. And days after the election, we are back at our desks, we are doing things. And a few days after the elections, I'm here right at the UN executing our foreign policy. So we recognize that the Jamaican public would not be prepared to say, you just won an election, it will take time for you to get things done. The view would be, and rightly so, we returned you because you had momentum, carry through that momentum for even further delivery. And that's what we have been doing. We're going to run through that tape, move with the momentum, and deliver more for the Jamaican people. So, I think, Jamaicans, especially those who supported the government, would acknowledge the historic nature of a third term for the administration. We view it as an endorsement of performance over promise, which is a big shift in the dynamics of Jamaica because, let's face it, politics in Jamaica, I guess like elsewhere, is very personal, very ideologically driven sometimes, which means that sometimes reason is secondary to passion and how people feel. But what we have seen in this election is that the majority of constituencies and the majority of voters seem to have cast their ballots based upon merit. In other words, I think the electorate is moving from traditional kinds of perspectives on how we should select our government to more examining the manifestos and commitments and policies, and that's good. I'm not saying that this is widespread. There are still people who just believe time come or, so. But there are certainly now more persons who are looking deeply and examining the statements made the policy positions preferred, you know, the propositions. They're looking at them very seriously and making their decisions based upon the performance and the credibility of the government. And I think that augurs well for Jamaica. It means that Jamaica will become more economistic in its views. And once we develop that economistic culture, then we are well on our way to being pro-growth, pro-efficiency, pro-production. And that's where we pro-productivity, and that's where we want to be as a people. So, you know, whilst there is a great deal of celebration around a third term, for me, what I'm happiest about is that most Jamaicans would have participated in the politics of their country and made a decision based upon reason and rationality. Thank you. But that is a self-reinforcing good, because for the government to be elected, it then can't rely wholly and solely on its base, meaning the people who will support it regardless of its performance. The government, to be elected, has to appeal to the reasonable middle, has to perform, and has to deliver a better proposition. So now we have performance-based government. That's effectively what this election has thrown up. And I've said this to my ministers, that, you know, we have now set this new paradigm, and we're going to be judged by it. And I think they all understand that. And so we are already looking to put together for the Jamaican people an incredible and irresistible proposition for a fourth term. I want to thank you, the members of the diaspora, for your support for Jamaica, your commitment to Jamaica. I want to point this out to you. Some of you may know this, but approximately 17% of Jamaica's GDP would amount from remittances. What you send back home is not just stopping a gap. You know, it's absolutely important. Important. And I remember during the pandemic, when incomes just disappeared, it was the remittances that kept grandma, uncle, cousin, that kept the people who were on the periphery of our society, the most vulnerable, that kept them alive, kept them surviving during the pandemic. And you continue to do this. Your remittances send children to school, ensure households have food and amenities. It's invaluable. But we are moving now into a different dispensation where remittances and philanthropic endeavors will continue to be important. But there are other avenues now where the diaspora can make significant contributions. The perspective when I speak to members of the diaspora is, I want to help. I want to be able to give back. But it's very difficult when you come into the Jamaican environment. It's very difficult to find your way around. And then there is always a perspective, what are you going to do to make it easier for members of the diaspora to be able to participate in the country? And, I have a simple answer. It's not about making it easier for any category of Jamaicans. It is about just making Jamaica easy for everyone. That's the solution. So, in the last 30 years, Jamaica has become a very complicated bureaucracy where it is almost impossible, very difficult to do business in Jamaica too. And I won't go into too much of it, but we have been going through several reforms, and each wave of reform comes with its own set of rules. And now we need to do a reform of the reform. All right, literally, that's what needs to happen now. So, we did a reform, let's say, in procurement, and that added a whole layer of rules. We did a reform in public sector investment and expenditure, which we call the PIAB process. So government can't spend without, especially capital expenditure, without a certain set of policies and procedures following. That adds another layer, another set of rules. Then we have the AML and other financial requirements. That adds another set of rules and regulations. Then we have anti-corruption regulations. And it has become, there's nothing wrong with a complex system. And the definition of strong and resilient system is that they're complex. But when they become complicated, that's when you have a problem. And I think our systems have become very complicated, very difficult to maneuver. And sometimes you could say that they are self-serving. In other words, they're only there, they only exist to perfect the rule rather than to deliver the service. And that is a big problem. And that is why my administration, long before the election, we have said that we are going to review all of this, and we have put in place a program which we call SPEED, and that is being led by our former ambassador to the United States, Ambassador the Honorable Audrey Marks, who is now a minister with our portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister. And so she will be addressing all of this. So she will be dealing with our business process reengineering. She'll be looking at the integration of technology and digitization, the use of AI, and working with business to ensure that the steps to productivity are as few as possible and easy to scale as possible. So that is something that the diaspora should pay attention to, because the objective is to make efficiency an investment attraction for Jamaica. So yes, we want Jamaica to be the fastest and easiest place to do business in the world while being compliant with global standards. That's the objective. So we are not saying we're going to become a non-compliant jurisdiction. Absolutely not. We will maintain quality, we will maintain standards, we will maintain compliance, but we will certainly re-engineer our processes to make them more efficient and make them more relevant to the needs of the people. Now, another element of our mission is to make Jamaica more productive. Let me quickly give some background to that, because whenever we talk about productivity, immediately in the minds of the listening public, I'm saying let's work more efficiently, and People may be interpreting that as saying, you expect me to work harder for less pay. It is, some of it is, we can't escape our history. We can't escape our history. And, when you talk to someone who is working very hard and getting minimum wage, this idea of productivity is not going to click. What clicks is pay me more first. And I can appreciate and understand that, because from your perspective, you're already working hard and not being paid enough. So I'm very cautious how I broach this conversation about productivity. But if you allow me a few minutes to put it in context, and to our friends listening on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and people who are listening, I want you to listen to what I'm saying, divorced of cultural and historical context. Now, Jamaica, let's say 15 years ago, was on the brink of financial ruin. Almost at the brink of bankruptcy, almost. And it forced the leaders of the country, business, political, unions, and otherwise, to recognize that the high interest rate policy would lead, was leading the country to ruin. And they agreed that they would have to do something about it. And with partnership of the IMF, we embarked on a journey of fiscal discipline. Fiscal meaning the management of the tax revenues and public expenditure of the country. And that is now viewed as the textbook classic case of how a country can reform itself, right? So Jamaica was once considered the basket case. Now it is the case study. Yeah, it is true. And that took, of course, social partnership. It took our business people to understand that real sacrifices were made. Some of you may remember that there were several debt exchanges, NDX1, JDX, and so forth, where business people literally took haircuts of their debt. The unions made sacrifices as well. There were several wage freezes that capped the increases of wages to the public sector for several years. The public made huge sacrifices. In 3 budgets, the government hauled in, my recollection is between $30 to $60 billion in new taxes in order to fund the budget. Government had to limit expenditure on a whole host of social services. But at the end of it, Jamaica developed fiscal discipline. We ran a 7% primary surplus for like 5 or 6 years, very high, in order to pay down debt. The result of that story is that our debt was as high as 144%. I recall if you put certain other entities in it, it would be as high as 151%. Now, today, our debt is 62% relative to our GDP. So before, about 144% of GDP, today it's 62% of GDP. And our debt servicing requirements have gone down significantly. So that's a good story. But where we are today will not carry us without peril if we don't grow. So in other words, We have managed to bring down the debt with very moderate growth, but by wringing out the greatest discipline in managing public expectations that drive expenditure, controlling wages, and the debt exchanges that we have done in the past, and just making the sacrifice to pay down the debt. But you can't do that forever, because people are going to put political pressure to have our streets clean, political pressure to have better education, better health care, water and roads. Those water and roads were the greatest demand for people in the elections as I moved around. And, we have programs there showing that, yes, we're attending to roads and we're attending to water. But imagine that you lived in Hanover, for example, or some areas of Westmoreland, and for 30 years, your road has not been repaired. And every day you get up and you walk outside, you can't even wear high heel shoes out there because that's the end of your shoe. I'm riding on a road. I was driving on a road and a youngster rode past me on his bicycle. And he said, "Prime Minister, you can't fix the road for me. I can ride my bicycle easier." So you see, the political pressure will build on governments to take on expenditure that their revenues can't support. So the fiscal discipline that we have, that is government saying, I can only do so much within the envelope of what the revenues of the country afford me. That's what we've been doing. And we have managed to do 10 budgets without asking for any new taxes. In fact, we have cut taxes. But in the next 10 years, that can't or will not hold forever. And I want to be clear, because everything I'm saying here, I'm sure somebody's going to, I don't want anybody to say that I'm proposing, taxes in the coming years. That's not what I'm saying. Let's be clear. What I'm saying is that fiscal discipline can carry you so far. The next step now, which we have already announced, our pivot to growth and our Aspire program, is to grow the economy. We must grow the economy, because the expectations of our people will drive a particular political economy that could imperil the fiscal discipline. And as a politician, I recognize that the Jamaican people have had pain points that they have had to suffer with, and they have been deprived of things that they have expected for a long time, and that can result in its own political dynamic. People are going to, I want my road now, I want the housing now, I want these things now. To hell with fiscal discipline and so forth. Just go borrow and spend again. You see how it could just unravel everything, right? So, of course, politicians like myself, we have a role. I have to stand at a microphone like this and explain it, which is why I said earlier, divorce your viewing of this from your cultural and historical context and just look at it dispassionately to understand exactly what I'm saying. Because there is a view with a lot of our citizenry that you don't have an impact on government. In other words, there's a view that no matter what I do, it will not impact government. But that's absolutely not true. Every one of us has an impact on government, and it can either be positive or negative. And a lot of people are acting, believing that their actions are positive, but when taken together, it can have a negative impact on government. And we have seen this before in our history, where politicians have seen the pressure being brought by the people and say, you know what, make we run with it. That's what that was about. Make we run with it. So, you know, the actions of the person saying, I want my road repaired and government not doing anything, fix my road. When all of that is taken together and it gets wrapped up in polls and politicians see it and they say, Lord, we're going to lose if we don't do that. What do you think going to happen? Yes, they're going to make policies that totally unravel. And even though we have built institutions to protect against unreasonable policies, it can still happen. You know, when you hear of a promise that you're going to increase the tax threshold to $3.5 million and it's going to cost $75 billion to do that. Of course, people are moved by that. And if you got a government that decided to do that, it would totally unravel fiscal discipline. Which is why I go back to my point. Thank God that people were listening rationally. I'm not saying everybody, because I'm certain that there are those who you know, took that bait. But thankfully there are others that said, maybe that don't make sense. Right? So, growth. Now, whenever we talk about growth, it is like saying, you know, the size of the economy is just going to increase. It's just going to get bigger. But the process to get it bigger is a mystery. We've been trying to grow the economy for ever. And the last time we saw any significant growth above, let's say, 4 or 5% was in the 70s when we grew by like 12% one year. Right? In the 60s, forgive me. In the 60s, yeah. Now, to get to that level of growth, right, it is either that you're going to discover some very valuable natural resource like oil or, you know, or something, whatever it is, all right? It's either you discover that and you get increased resources from minerals. But that has its own challenges because, you know, if you don't manage that well, you can end up in problems, right? Or you can produce some technology, innovation, right? Like the American economy, a lot of its growth is on innovation, production of technology. Or you could grow your economy by services, the provision of services which use the human resource to deliver the service. You could also grow your economy by being very strategic with your location to position yourself as indispensable to trade in the world. Logistics, right? So there are many ways to do it, but the government has to be very strategic in what it is doing and how it aligns itself. But what are the obstacles to this? Bureaucracy is number one. And especially for Jamaica, where 70% of our economy is dependent on services. If bureaucracy is an obstacle to the delivery of service, then it is unlikely that you can grow rapidly. So you see why it is so necessary that the government has an efficient bureaucracy. When I say you don't want bureaucracy, bureaucracy is very important. Bureaucracy is necessary. Bureaucracy is the hallmark of modern institutions and governance. But when the bureaucracy becomes complicated, dense, and self-serving, it's an obstacle. And so we have to reform the Jamaican bureaucracy so that the services can grow. That's focus number one for us. But the other way to grow is to increase your productivity. Again, inefficient bureaucracy is an obstacle for productivity. But there is growth to be had by ensuring that our human resources can produce more with what they currently have. And that's where our effort is going to be in the next few years in this term, to get our human resources to produce more, right? And what does that entail? Number one, we have to upskill, reskill, and skill the Jamaican labor force. So it's all about education and the education system, but it's more so about that kind of on-the-job training, aligning the education system with industry, getting our people to embrace, adapt, and become native with technology, and getting our people to use their creative energies in more profitable, economistic ways. That's what we're going to be focused on. So it's efficiency in the banking sector, efficiency in tourism, efficiency in logistics, increasing the productivity in these areas will give you a bump up in your GDP growth each year. So that's a part of the effort. But there's another obstacle to growth in the economy, and I think that this obstacle cuts across everything, and that's security. Security. Now, that is where I think this administration has made, aside from the fiscal improvements, in security, we have made significant progress in the last 10 years, without question. Now, I'm not telling you that Jamaica is the safest place, but we are certainly safer today than we were a decade ago. All right? We have made major investments in our national security. We are far more sophisticated in our national security. And we are now in a position where we can look to move from the plane of security to the plane of peace. So right now, let me just give a little context. So the average Jamaican, they'll see a murder happen, and they will just say, the state has failed, the security forces don't know what they're doing, it's a gunman that shot another one or whatever. But that's not the case. Right? What has happened in Jamaica is that there has been a level of organized violence that has a profit motive that is not readily understood by the community experiencing the violence. So the community experiencing the violence believes, it's just two boys a fight, or one road down there don't like another road. But they're not understanding that there is someone who has a connection, probably in New York or in Miami, who goes and does what they call straw purchases, gets guns, has a contact with a shipper here and a ship and the what they call them, the consolidators, and brings the guns back into Jamaica. That is a high level of organization. And then there is someone who has to know who this person is who has the gun, go and make the contact. And then while they're making the contact, say, you have guns now, you have guns now. Okay, tell you what, I want you to control this area because, there's a shipment of drugs or whatever it is that is going to come through, and you hold off this place. Safe haven for criminals. Or maybe it's to say, You have guns now, extort. So what you see is, you know, this one shooting that one because they have an argument over a girlfriend or so. But if you delve deeper behind it, it is these kinds of connections. Because our interpretation of gangs would be, you know, some youngsters who have been marginalized and they are poor and the society treat them bad. In other words, we have a kind of romantic view that they are, you know, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. Absolutely not. And so when we've done our surveys of gangs, a couple of years ago, we had about 350 of them operating in Jamaica, controlling communities, infiltrating institutions, police, customs, all kinds of things. And so I'm trying to give you a different understanding of the problem. 70% of murders were attributed to gangs. They could be arrested, they're in prison, they pick up the phone, they call. You know, families have arguments in Jamaica, they call their brother here, and he sends a remittance and tell him, go and buy the shot from this one, and, you know, sends the guns down in the barrel, in the rice, and creates this problem for us. So we said no more of that. We did two things. One, we used states of public emergency, and we established a new law called the Zones of Special Operations to deal with communities at war. And we went about in a systematic way to undermine, degrade, and eliminate the gangs. So from 350 gangs, we are now below 100 gangs operating in Jamaica. So, you know, the opposition was saying, oh, you don't have a plan. We didn't tell them. Because, you know, anyway, some things you just have to do it. You can't telegraph it. And, you know, 2 years ago, I made the call. I said that, you know, we need to now view well, first of all, I said that we need a parallel war on guns, because the focus has always been on drugs, which is just one side of the trade. And then I upgraded that call to say we need to have a war on gangs that is prosecuted in the way in which the war on terror was prosecuted. I mean, I'm seeing some movements now in that regard. I don't know if somebody was listening, but it seems to be that there are some serious policy measures now being taken on dealing with gangs. And in Jamaica, we have been very serious about dealing with the gangs. So now, when people see a massive fall off in murders this year, we are now 42% less murders this year than we were last year. But in 2023, we cut murders by 7%, and in 2024, we cut murders by, was it 23% or something like that, 23%. So, you know, we've really had a massive impact on crimes generally and homicides in particular. Now, so there's a second phase of this. So we'll continue to erode and eradicate the gangs. But as we do that, we begin to see another form of violence emerging. And that is the social violence, the intimate partner violence, the violence in the disciplining of children, the domestic violence, you know, just the kind of aggression in the society that leads to a crime in some form, which means that you are violating the physical person and inflicting pain and damage to the physical person. So we're going to have to deal with that. That is not necessarily a police problem exclusively. That now requires a lot of social workers. But it requires our schools to Jamaica has this view that the only way to discipline a child is to use some form of violence. Whether it is to talk strongly or slap or to physically encroach on the person. Now, I don't want to get into the debate. There are, as I said, when I'm speaking on these matters, if we could just divorce the cultural and historic things and just look at it from a practical, rational point of view as we are moving to a newer, better Jamaica. These are things that we have to address. And we have included now in our new cabinet the Ministry of National Security and Peace, because we are now going to be deliberate in moving now from crime to peace. Right? Right. So it's not just the absence of violence, but it is the deliberate pursuit and guardianship of the safety and security of the people. It is the peace of mind. Right? That is what we're going to be pursuing. So we actually did do a very intense study on the issue of violence in the society. We empaneled a commission, and they have given us our report, and that report will be made public, and we'll go through an entire process of bringing in the entire society into this discussion as to how do we secure peace. Now, just think of this now. There's a community, some of you may know this community, it's East Kingston and Port Royal. And then there's another one, Central Kingston. And those were our historic residential and business communities on the waterfront. I mean, the waterfront anywhere in the world is the highest value real estate. But those communities, crime and violence took them over. But since our efforts in reducing crime, particularly the internecine gang wars, we are noticing that investors are taking some risk. We are seeing a major housing development taking place in East Kingston and Port Royal, right? And in Central Kingston, there are at least 3 developments going on, 3 huge high-rise buildings being built. That's the peace dividend. And when you bring peace to communities, people will invest. And that's how you get growth. So we are going to continue to press on the gangs, but we are also seeking to build peace. And this, I've stopped at these 3 things. But if you put all of these things together, Jamaica has never been in this position before, maybe at the beginning of our independence journey. But we have never had these alignments before, where we are dealing with some of the intractable problems, but having the kind of foresight in planning for the next stage and level of development. So if you think of it, what was the thing that concerned most Jamaicans? Crime, cut in half. Our murder rate has now moved from about 50 per 100,000. We're about 25 per 100,000. And we're going to continue to push to what the regional average is, which is about 15, and we want to go below the regional average. The US is about 3.6 per 100,000. We're heading towards that. Now, can you imagine we are getting 4 million tourists per year, with that level? Can you imagine if we're at 3? I mean, we wouldn't have hand, as we say in Jamaica, right? And that's what we want, right? We push. The debt was as high as 144%. Now it's at 60, and we will reach we will probably, I don't want to speak about fiscal targets, but we'll certainly better the target. The target is to be 60% debt to GDP. I'm certain we'll do better than that. We're now 2 grades below investment grade. When you're at investment grade, you don't really have to borrow, but when you're at investment grade, you get the lowest interest rates. People consider you a safe haven for them to park capital. And that's where we want to be, right? It's just to move from there to investment grade, we have to satisfy some of the demands of the people. So the political pressure does not create a political economy that destroys the fiscal discipline. And that's why we're doing some programs to release the pressure and the pressure points and the pain points of the people. So we have the Spark programs. We're doing 660 roads across Jamaica. We have a massive water program, a massive highway program, a massive housing program. We have to do a review of the social safety net program part because it seems not to be properly aligned with what we offer versus what people need. Path would be the equivalent of your social security program. We have to rethink that to make sure that it is effective. We're doing massive things in rethinking our electricity arrangements, reduce energy in the country. So, we're taking all the right steps to improve the quality of lives of Jamaicans. So my closing point is that Jamaica is at an inflection point. An inflection point, for those of you who know mathematics, is when the rate of change of a curve, it increases more rapidly. And so for us, our inflection point is that the rate of effort is going to yield far more results. And therefore, we are I think, in a good place. And I'm privileged, I consider it, and humbled to be at the helm at this time. And again, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. I'm sure after this, nobody has any questions because he did so well and answered all the questions that you had. And so we're going to just let the Prime Minister slip away, right? Okay. All right. We only have time for 3 questions with the Prime Minister. I'm going to ask Mr. Holster to just take the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, please let them be questions, no commentary, and only 1 question per person. So let me just quickly, as fast as your hands can go up, I'm just going to pick 3 people randomly from there. All right. I see that lady beside Keisha, then Dr. Morgan over here, and Karen in the front. Those are the 3 questions. So we'll start. Go. That's the lady standing.
Good evening, everyone. Honorable Prime Minister, it's a pleasure to have you join us here today. My name is Dr. Althea Andrade, and I'm a psychiatric mental health provider, and I currently work in the state of New Jersey. Now, my question is, in light of the recent suicide of former Miss Jamaica Universe, who publicly shared her struggles with mental illness, how is Jamaica collaborating with international partners on non-governmental organizations to strengthen suicide prevention programs?
Okay. Do you want to take all the questions? Okay. Okay. All right. Dr. Morgan? Oh, that was the same question?
Honorable Prime Minister, thank you for coming and sharing your time with us. Dr. Michael Morgan, a.k.a. Pope. So my question is in regards to medicine and the hospital system in Jamaica. I've actually worked at KPH for a few years, And I was just wondering, is there any fast track agenda in terms of improving the entire healthcare system as it stands right now?
Okay. And Karen.
Good evening, PM. My name is Karen Wilson Robinson. I'm currently the president of the Mecca Alumni Association and with Team Jamaica Bickle. Last week, this time, we were in Jamaica doing a presentation of AEDs to schools. Recently, or just a couple of days ago, we got a form, or a form was, distributed from NET that has a lot of requests for information that, quite frankly, as an attorney, would appear to be a chilling effect on folks who are trying to bring things into the country to give away to our students, to give away to families, etc. What, if anything, can the government do to alleviate the challenges that we're having to bring things into the country that we are giving away? Our distribution last week were 23 AEDs for a value of over $70,000 US for monies that was sourced here. While the NET form requests the source of the funding, again, as an attorney, I can understand that. I can't understand why you need all of my personal information, all of my income resources, and all of those of the directors on any of our boards sending stuff to Jamaica. So we need to do something about alleviating the challenges of giving away things to Jamaica to enhance Jamaicans.
Okay. Minister?
Thank you all for your excellent questions. Let me start with the third. So this is exactly what Prime Minister is speaking about, that as we have enhanced our institutions and built our compliance and sought to ensure that we have strong institutions and systems that will ensure that we are, for example, off the FATF list. I don't know if you recall, but when this administration took office in 2016, we inherited a report that was conducted by FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, in 2015, which said that certain things needed to be done systematically, or systemic challenges needed to be fixed in order for Jamaica to be compliant with FATF rules, with the anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism rules globally. And we set about fixing those. We got that report in 2017, 1 year into an administration, and we set about fixing those. During all that time, we were listed. We were grey listed, we were listed on the EU list automatically, etc. And all of that had implications for banking rules, for accessibility, for financial inclusion, for your ability to open an account, for what processes institutions need to ask of you as a donor, as a banker, as anything, as someone doing business. Even you would know that there are difficulties using your credit card if it's issued from a bank from Jamaica. Some sites wouldn't accept it, etc. And we set about fixing those things. Part of that has resulted in processes that become strangleholds, that become unduly bureaucratic, just as Prime Minister was explaining. It's one example. So we've established the NET, and you may wish to know that Prime Minister was the conceptualizer of the NET, the National Education Trust, which does provide some tax benefits for charities donating to partners in Jamaica. And it does reduce the cost of giving. But we also have other challenges, as I've just explained. So we just came off of the FATF list last year, 2024. So we're working our way through in terms of how can we pare down and streamline systems to ensure that what is requested is what is necessary and not beyond. Having fixed some of our systemic issues, we now have that flexibility. We didn't have that flexibility before, so we can do that. Similarly, we also have constraints for fiscal stability in terms of the value of discretionary waivers that can be granted in any month, if you can believe it. And even the types of waivers that can be given. So you in your mind, you say this is $70,000 and we're giving it. Why do we have to pay something more? And yet we have to say at this time, maybe cost it for 50 and the 20, because we have only a discretionary amount that can be granted per month, but that will expand, it will change, it will improve. But right now, even for example, with motor vehicles, so you can't, we've had this perennial issue with ambulances. We need ambulances, of course we need them, but the cost for the waiver per ambulance set us over the threshold on a monthly basis. So if you're giving an ambulance, literally you need to fund how that works for the donation. Although it's streamlined, it's not perfect. So we're working at it. It is difficult, I know, because really the issue is how do we...
Once the thing that is being triggered is costed,
Mm-hmm.
and there is custom revenue attached to it,
Yes.
then the government has to account that is giving that up.
It's account for the revenue that is foregone in
Yes.
order for...
Right, and so that has an impact on our accounts, our national accounts. And so we have set a limit as to how much revenue we can forego
Yes.
as a part of the fiscal discipline, fiscal management. So it's hard for the people. I'm giving you this. Why are you,
Why is it costing me? So Prime Minister is explaining in a far more professorial manner what it means to forego revenue and what it is that the government, or how it impacts the government when it is that we have to, if we do not charge the duties and the fees that are usually applicable by the customs department on things which come into the country. One of the things that we are doing, by the way, is to reform customs. We know it has gotten easier. We know that it is different now than it was 10 years ago, but it can still be better. And there's a new Customs Act that we started work on, went through a joint select committee process, etc., and it made it through one chamber in Parliament. Had needed further change, but it will come back under this new administration. We will do more, we will do better, I can say. But I understand the problem. It's not immediately fixable, but it is fixable, and we will get there. So I give you that assurance. In terms of the medical system generally, so we have a lot happening. I think I'll take the side question first because it is the easiest one to answer because I am actually unable to answer it. I know, no, because I know Minister Tufton is here. He's having the meetings with international organizations, but I haven't had that brief yet, so I don't know what exactly is being done in that regard. I can tell you that domestically, we have a new mental health program. Not only do we have a school-based program that's dealing with our primary and high schools, you have wellness benches and a new program to destigmatize mental health issues so that people feel more at ease to speak about anxiety and depression and other conditions that may not even be recognized. It's no longer, it's no longer politic to just talk about mad people, as we once did. There's a destigmatization program at Speak Out, and there's a new 24-hour hotline where you can get counseling. There's a 1-888 New Life, which is specifically focused on suicide counseling, and it may be that first touch that allows you to find someone who you can speak to. And there's a line for young adults, and then there's a line for general population which would include. There's also additional training that's taking place in respect of mental health. So there's, even at schools now, they have the wellness bench, where you encourage young people that if something is feeling wrong, or even staff, that you can take time out, that you can just sit there. And on a much, 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 much lighter note, I will give you the joke that I don't know if you were following on social media when KFC had their 50-year celebration, and there were, people were out getting their one box free. And one of the most popular memes that were circulated on that day was same Dr. Tufton sitting on the wellness bench thinking about his NCD program and what was now happening with all the people eating so much KFC. But the point was, and that was just organic, non-regulated content, you know, that somebody just thinking about the reality that here it is that the government is advocating for better care of your bodies, for, you know, better heart care, and here it is. But you must take time for the wellness bench if you have a problem to think about. So it's getting in there. It's getting in there. So there's a lot happening. And but on the you asked specifically about international organizations on suicide, and that I'm unable to specifically answer. So my apologies for that. But Minister Tufton is here, so I'm quite sure he must be doing something, and I encourage you to check out his page. He may well even have a statement out about it. On the general medical, I see you looking at me. I know I'm coming to you. 3, 1, and 2. Your question is longer, but there's a lot that's happening. Jamaica actually is undertaking one of the largest or greatest scale of construction in the health sector. We have the Western Children's Hospital, which was a gift from China that is under construction now. That will be the largest and most modern health institution for child and adolescent care in the region. It will be a regional institution. It's being built in St. James, and it will serve the region. Similarly, you know, there's a new Cornwall hospital that is being built, and it is way raised out of the ground now. It is to be fixed, to be completed next year, is it? Next year. And when that is done, St. James will have the largest concentration of hospital beds in the entire Caribbean. We will have the largest number of beds present. There is a new KPH that is to be built. The land has already been identified, yes. So we have 27 new operating theaters that are going to be built and expanded in this new term. We are continuing to expand our health centers. We're focused on primary health care. We've already renovated and upgraded 138 health centers. 65 have been renovated with the help of the diaspora. And by the way, New York, South Florida is way ahead of you guys. So South Florida has sponsored, I think, 3/4 of the diaspora adopter clinic programs. If you remember, it's $3 million, $1 million a month, divide by 160. $1 million a year, divide by 160. And the funds are used to upgrade equipment, build more dignified surroundings. There's also a SMART program that solarizes and builds the resilience of the health centers. There's also Bustamante Children's Hospital, Spanish Town Hospital, that is new lab, new wards, new operating theaters, Maypen Hospital, the largest hospital transformation healthcare program across the piece. And to say on the human capacity side, we're also offering more than 500 scholarships per year for areas of the greatest specialist needs, including speech pathology, including speech therapy, behavioral and occupational therapy, because we're also expanding how we deal with special need education. And that requires not only the actual physical institutions, which we have started to build, but the human capacity to make sure we have the right skill sets in them. And we're not trying to do one without the other, we're trying to do both. But the skills that reside here in our diaspora will be absolutely, it will exponentially increase our speed if some of you come and spend some office days there. Yeah. But I think I think those are the 3 questions, unless you're sorry. I saw some others, but
all right, ladies and gentlemen, I know there are other questions in the room. What I'll ask you to do is, I'm sorry, but the PM has to leave because he has another meeting, believe it or not, at 10 o'clock at night. So you know the Prime Minister is working. 2 more PM? Okay. All right, Mr. Wilson and Mr. Make it very short questions, please. Mr. Wilson first, and then, what's your name again? Oh, yes, Dr. Tingley. Go ahead. Go with the mic for me, please.
Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister. So I'm asking on behalf of many of my diaspora members from the Union of Jamaican Alumni Associations. We are happy about the fact that crime has gone down significantly over the last couple of years. However, we wanted to know if you're concerned about the number of incidents where persons have been killed in confrontation with the security forces, and wish that you would just share your thoughts on that with us.
Well, the transformation of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and indeed the JDF, is that there is a focus on training and leadership in human rights. There is a well-developed policy for the use of force. And Jamaica has a very strong institutional framework to treat with police-involved killings, and that is INDECOM. So Jamaica has a strong institutional framework, strong policy, and strong leadership. The taking of a life by the state must be treated with the greatest level of seriousness, which includes thorough investigation and holding to account the state actors that are responsible. And therefore, the government ensures that if the security forces take a life, that all the processes that are in place are followed through, and that the constitutional rights of the citizens are protected. However, we must always remember that there are dangerous actors in the society, and that our security forces are also at great risk. Having said that, the position of the government is that the role of law enforcement is to protect the citizen, even the citizens that are criminals. And therefore, the way in which the police conduct their operations, arrange their interdictions and arrest, they have to take into consideration not just their safety, but the safety of the people that they are going to be treating with. We have been very clear to say that if you come into conflict with the police, that the best solution for you is to surrender peacefully. I can't overemphasize that. And I say to the police, once someone surrenders and is no longer a threat, they must be protected. I think that is the clearest statement I can make to the security forces and to the people of Jamaica. We are at this point where we are reducing the murders, we are dealing with the gangs. It is dangerous business. But we do not want to take the lives of any innocent Jamaicans, or even those that are not innocent. That has to be said. The example that we must set is that we preserve life. That is the example. I know that there is a particular case. I have not yet been thoroughly briefed on it. I'm seeing the statements in the press. When I go back to Jamaica, I will get a thorough brief. But I give the commitment to the citizens of Jamaica that the processes and laws that are in place will be fully executed on every police involved shooting or killing to ensure that the rights of the citizens are protected and preserved, and that innocent people and victims are protected and preserved.
Mr. Prime Minister, I'm Dr. Bill Tingling, and I just want to extend our gratitude to Dr. Tufton and Mr. Cephas. We have been, through our Jewish community here in New York and Jamaican Jewish community, we have been the largest contributors and donors to all the hospitals in the entire country. Tons and tons of medical supplies we've continuously provided to our Jamaican community. This year in 2025, we'll be making one of the largest donations in a tractor-trailer truck filled with medical supplies, which have been cleared already. So I just want to extend our gratitude to Mr. Cephas, our gratitude to Dr. Tufton and all their staff who made life a lot easier for us throughout from 2014 to now. So thank you, sir, and thanks to them.
All right.
That was a comment. You're going to take a last question.
Good evening, everyone. Carmita Alvarez, social worker. And I just wanted to, my organization deals with individuals who have been deported, and the demographics have changed. Whereas formerly, a majority of persons going down were involved with criminal activity, had been locked away for, significant amount of time. But what we are seeing now is that individuals who have violated immigration laws, who may have committed, minor offenses years ago, are being deported. Members of our diaspora who have been making contribution to our society. So I want to ask Prime Minister, are we, or you, your administration, harnessing some of the skills of individuals who have worked here, been trained here, and can make a contribution back home, and not just think of persons who have been deported, involuntary return migrants, or voluntary return migrants, because, it's let's go back before we are sent back.
You would recall that when this whole business of the change in immigration policy and its enforcement here, that I was probably the first Caribbean leader to say, hey, come back home. Yes. We need you back home. And that continues to be our posture. And even without any direct intervention from the government, we are involved through heart retraining. So if you come back and you have skills but not certification, you can go to heart and get those skills certified so that you can matriculate into our employment. But yes, and so the minister is reminding me that we established a technical working group which involves all the elements of the government that have anything to do with a returning resident. So whether it is training, whether it is welfare, whether it's health, mental health support, whatever it is, we have coordinated the entire government to provide the service. But you are so correct that the notion of the deportee has now changed to the returnee. So I don't think the Jamaican people are not seeing persons returning home as just wholly and solely persons who have been deported because they have been involved in crime. This is not to say that they are not those persons who have been deported, who have got themselves on the wrong side of the law. The last one that you would have seen is one called AKA Brown Man in Manchester. You would have seen that. And I make the statement very clear: if you have been involved in crime here and you're coming back to Jamaica expecting that you're going to be involved in crime there and get away with it, forget about it. It's not going to happen. I must be very clear with that. So if you're coming back to Jamaica, come back to contribute and not to destroy.
Yes. All right. So we're going to wrap quickly. But permit me, PM, I just needed to do 2 quick shout outs before you leave as well. I know the team from the G2K, are they still here? If you're here, just say, hey, PM. Okay. All right. And then there is Mr. Kevin Walker, who was apparently at school with PM. Mr. Walker, if you want us just stand and say, hey, hey, PM. He's standing behind. Right? All right. So I've done my job in terms of the shout outs. And then, so Jamleo, you can just start congregating behind me as I wrap. Ladies and, yes, we're going to do it right here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. If you have any other questions and you did not get a chance to ask your question, feel free to send an email to us here at the consulate. Just like last year, we did share those questions with the PM's office, and I know most of those questions were answered. So feel free. My email is the only email on the consulate's website. It's cro@congenjamaica-ny.org, and it's the same email that you would have gotten the invitation from this to attend this event. So again, thank you so much for coming. After the Jamleo folks, the G2K folks, quickly so that PM can get that picture with you so that you can he can run off to his meeting. Thank you so much, PM. Yeah, yes, they ate already. It's just for you. Yes. All right.